History of Australian opal cutters. In 1967, grandfather Jack Blakelock and Graham Blakelock teamed up wholesaling jewellery. In 1982, Graham registered Australian Opal Cutters. And in 1992, Jason, his son, teamed up with his dad, and in 1993 the CBD workshop began, selling direct to the public. In the last 20 years, Australian Opal Cutters has established itself as a market leader. Opal, the lucky gem from the lucky country. Opal's known as the Noble Opal, Australia's national gemstone and the Queen of Gems. In the Bible, God's throne is described like a sapphire. That's black opal's base colour, surrounded by a fire like a rainbow. That's a very good description of a black opal. And again in Revelation, the throne of God is surrounded by a rainbow like an emerald on a sea of glass like crystal, and that's a very fitting description of crystal opal. It's alleged that in the 19th century, diamond cartels purchased the only European opal mines, closed them down and then claimed to jewellers, all the good opal is mined out. Up until this time, opal, not diamond, was the engagement ring gem of choice. It's also alleged that diamond cartels started a bad luck story about opal by commissioning a book by Sir Walter Scott called Anne of Geierstein. In Roman times, opals were highly sought after as a protective talisman in battle. Capturing a rainbow. An opal functions just like a rainbow, splitting white light into the colours of the spectrum. Precious opal shows a variable interplay of internal colours and does have an internal structure. At the micro scale, precious opal is composed of silica spheres some 150 to 300 nanometres in diameter in a hexagonal array. These ordered silica spheres produce the internal colours by causing the interference and diffraction of light passing through the microstructure of opal. It's the regularity of the spheres and the packaging of these spheres that determines the quality of precious opal. Opal is possibly 5,000 times rarer than diamond. Australia mines 97% of the total opal mine worldwide and is renowned for the world's finest opals and 100% of all black and bolder opal. If you look at the graph, man-made diamond produces 500 million carats per year. Natural diamond has 130 million carats, whereas opal produces only 1 million carats per annum. That would make opal 130 times rarer than natural diamond. Anecdotal evidence suggests, however, that tanzanite has 100 miles of mines in production. Now when we compare that to 20 miles of black opal, opal is 5,000 times rarer than diamond. Let's look at the types of opal. Opal occurs in the Great Artesian Basin, an ancient inland seabed where sedimentary sandstone provided the right geological conditions for opal creation. As the ages passed and the seas receded, sea creatures were isolated, marooned and opalized. Eventually the area dried out completely as now dry desert country. In time, groundwaters holding the silica solution also evaporated, and in a very few spots they left behind the phenomenon known as opal. We have four main fields: the white, crystal, boulder and black opal. White opal is the most frequently purchased form of opal. It comes from Cooper Pedy, South Australia, and most of the opal mined in Australia is the white. Subsequently, it's the most affordable. When we cut this type of opal, we get a yield of about 50%, losing half of the material, and it's basically a hydrated silica with magnesium oxide, giving it its white appearance. Crystal opal is a great example of what we call the miner's test. Take a piece of crystal opal and hold it under the table in the semi-dark, and you'll see how the colour fires up, and if it's got gem colour, it will fire up beautifully. With crystal opal, we get what's called a 50% yield, which means when we cut a piece of rough opal, we get 50% in colour and we'll lose about 50% in the process. It's a pure hydrated silica, so it doesn't have any oxides giving it any different colours. That's why it's called pure. The often skin-to-skin colour makes it a highly desirable form of opal. Boulder opal is arguably the rarest form of opal. It forms in the cracks and crevices of the ironstone. And because of the seam form of colour, most often has an irregular shape and surface. And because of native title legislation and the requirements to backfill open cut mines being very, very expensive, it is limiting the supply of this opal and making it very difficult to mine. Black opal is the most valuable and popular of all opals. Gem black opal is where the colour sits on top of a black base called potch. It's crystal opal filled with black or grey iron oxide. This forms what we call a black storm cloud behind a rainbow, which, if you've ever seen a black storm cloud behind a rainbow, makes a rainbow a lot brighter. And this is exactly the same principle. It comes in all the colours of the rainbow, with red being the rarest and most expensive. The fire in the opal is any colour that displays a very intense sheen. Doublets and triplets. Doublets have a thin layer of crystal opal bonded to a backing of potch or ironstone. And this kicks up the colour of the opal, but it is a thin layer, but it is natural opal. Triplets are exactly the same thing with a quartz crystal cap on top, which acts as a lens to magnify and enhance the colour of the opal. Created opal is laboratory grown, invented in Australia by the CSIRO, and has a similar chemical composition to the physical properties to that of natural opal, and is equally as beautiful. Gilson opal is a fine synthetic, laboratory grown and patented process, and if we show you some Gilson opal, we will let you know that it's by Pierre Gilson. Our bargain barrel has a fabulous range of created opals from $30. When we value an opal, we have to assess over 13 characteristics to finalise the actual value. The main three are the colour, best when multi-directional, the pattern, where we're looking for large blocks of colour, and the fire. That's that bright, brilliant colour that comes in any of the spectral hues.